Hello, and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. We're back with the League of Ireland show, and it feels like we haven't done this in a while. But we are here. I know you did a show with Paul last week, and Gary, I've seen a lot of you this weekend. We obviously were over at the first game of the season, the Premier League. Some people might not want to hear us talking about that, but we'll kind of get into a short, funny story of how I actually missed the final score without realising. Um, and a lot of people actually thought that was a bluff. So for those who don't know, basically we were at Everton and Chelsea, and Gary had never been to Goodison Park, and he wanted to get the experience of going to Goodison, obviously before Everton moved to Bramley Moordock. And we were travelling over with the Irish Toffees, which is an Irish Everton supporters club, and we were over with them. But what happened was we were at the game, and like most people, when you've been drinking a bit before the game, you want to go down early before half time and get yourself a couple of drinks. So I did that while there was a good bit of added time for, I think, Ben Godfrey's injury. And as I went down, I got two drinks, two really horrible warm beers that were just disgusting. But you couldn't really hear any sound around you, so you wouldn't have known if anything had happened unless it was Everton scoring. But I was surprised. But in that process, Chelsea had got a penalty and scored it with Jorginho. But I didn't know any of this, so I came back up from half time. I went back up to my seat, thinking it was 0-0. None the wiser. The whole second half I spent thinking it was 0-0. And Gary and my brother decided never to tell me that this was actually the score. So at the end of the game, I'm standing there clapping like a fool, and everyone's going like, "Why is he so happy?" And I was like, "Oh, that was a great point, wasn't it? A decent result." And some fella turned around behind us, not these two lads, but behind us, and goes, "Oh yeah, it was a great result despite conceding a penalty." And I just went, "When did we concede a penalty, lads?" And then the two lads decided to dawn it upon me then that Chelsea had scored. So for me, I'm going to continue and think it was a 0-0 draw on Saturday. So yeah, Gary, anything to say for yourself?
No, it's 100% true. I don't people don't believe. Maybe some people don't believe it, and I suppose the only message is don't leave early or don't try and rush out. I see it in the Aviva all the time as well. People rushing out a couple of minutes before half time, and one of the most famous ones I can remember is in Paris in 2016. That a huge proportion of the Irish fans missed Wes Hoolahan's goal against Sweden because they were still behind getting beer or whatever. That was the start of the second half, but they were late coming back. I think they all heard the roar though. But and the other one actually going back in time was Ibaraki. There were hundreds of Irish fans streaming out when we were 1-0 down to Germany to get the early trains back to Tokyo. Funny, absolutely nobody admits to being among them now. But so if there is a message, just don't leave early.
Yeah, but look, it was funny to it made me, I suppose, cheer up a little bit at the end of the game, despite the loss. I thinking it was a draw, but anyway, we move on. A huge game. Obviously, Shamrock Rovers are playing tonight against Scoopy. The second leg is tonight. You were at the game, the 3-1 win. Um, Graham Burke's penalty early on, and then it was Dylan Watt's goal. And Shamrock Rovers were excellent out, from the start. They were really, really, really good out the trap. And then second half, they really let Scooby get back in at Quavine. Got the goal 77th minute. And they were really starting to get back into it, but then Hamidi got sent off then in the 84th minute. And to add insult to injury and to drive the Shamrock Rovers fans wild, Gary O'Neill, who Colin Murphy had said on commentary that he doesn't score enough goals, but he definitely made that one count in the last minute to obviously give Rovers a huge advantage going into the game tonight.
Yeah, it was a great night, and it was in many ways. I said it on Instagram and all of the night. It was a bit of a strange game because, as you mentioned, Shamrock Rovers first half an hour were totally on top. It was a bit like the Hibs and Malta game. They were 2-0 up. They were playing incredibly well. Scoopy were just being outplayed, outclassed, and it looked like it was going to be 4-5-0 and it would be done and dusted on the night. And even you did say the second half, Paul, and a lot of people have said that. I actually saw signs of it in the last 15 minutes of the first half that we finally saw that Scoopy could play a bit. and they did knock the ball around. They did threaten in the first, but definitely they came out after half time and they dominated the game. And Alan
We'll just,
Manis,
yeah, sorry,
sorry,
yeah, go on. No, that's what I was
Alan
going to
Ma-
say.
Alan Manis for me was the man of the match. He may not have been given man of the match, but he made some absolutely crucial saves on both sides of the interval. And frankly, the goal was coming. And then at 2-1, it was a very, very different tie. And even, I think you said it was 7 minutes between the goal and the red card. Shamrock Rovers were hanging on to the 2-1 lead at that stage. And the red card was actually quite predictable as well, because they were a very niggly team. They'd picked up a lot of yellows. They'd got the wrong side of the referee. And it was just so many yellow cards. A second yellow seemed inevitable. And actually, it was one of their better players, Hamidi, that got the second yellow and the red card. And of course, that proved crucial as well, because suddenly they were sitting back. They were happy to lose 2-1 with the second leg to come, obviously. And in the last 6 minutes of normal time and the added 6 minutes, I think it was the 97th minute when Gary O'Neill stuck it in the net, Rovers just pushed them back and they finally got the goal. And you say Gary O'Neill, or Con says Gary O'Neill doesn't score many. Well, I'll tell you, that was a worldie, because he absolutely connected with it as sweet as a nut, flew into the top corner, right in front of the south stand as well. And for those that were there, just know it just erupted. Tallaght Stadium went absolutely nuts. I imagine the south stand was just mayhem there. But anyway, it felt significant at the time. I think it will be a crucial goal. And Rovers go into the game tonight in Skopje in the National Stadium with a fantastic chance of securing group stage football.
Yeah, well, I think, it's obviously key tonight that Shamrock Rovers learn from the game last week, and not to let them in like they did, because there was times where they looked unbelievable, Rovers, and then there was times where we were like, what's going on here, like where's the team that was there 5 minutes ago? So yeah, I think they have to learn a lot from that. It's very disappointing that this game can't be broadcast this evening, that nobody can watch it. So people will be hanging by their phones for alerts, I'm sure, but like, it's still not the same as seeing the game. I got great enjoyment out of watching the game last week, because I was watching it from home, but I was able to watch that on LOI TV, and now I can't watch anything this evening, which could be a huge fixture for Irish football. If Rovers win this game, or certainly if they don't get beaten, they're into group stage football tonight. You know what I mean? So it's pretty big, and the fact that nobody's even shown it is it's very disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, it is very disappointing. It should be on national television, without a doubt. I mean, look, this argument goes on about RT all the time, but there are other channels as well, Virgin, even TGR. It is very, very disappointing. It may still be on LOI TV. I was actually just before we started recording this show, I saw some stuff on social media that there's still negotiations going on to possibly have it on LOI TV. So I keep an eye on it just in case. But as of now, it's not confirmed that there's any way that, any legal way that Rovers fans can watch it. And it is very disappointing. And I mean, we pay our TV, football fans pay the TV license fee as well. And it just seems that once the GA season starts, that football just gets totally forgotten about. I think GA season is over now anyway, but even still, I mean, we've had three times we've ever qualified for group stage football. Dundalk twice and Shamrock Rovers once. This is a massive match and a fantastic opportunity for Shamrock Rovers. And not just Shamrock Rovers fans, but Irish football fans should be able to watch this game live on TV. And it is very, very, very disappointing considering the low level of games in other sports that get shown.
Absolutely. I don't think you'd see it in any other country. I really don't.
No.
But yeah, look, we can harp on about it all day. Hopefully something does get sorted in the meantime. We'll be hoping. I have my own football training at 6:45. So when I get back, if there is a stream, I hope to be able to watch it. But I'm sure you'll be keeping all the viewers up to date. Not like you did on Saturday with me, but anyway, we shall move on. Just obviously another great result in Europe as well with St. Pat's, with their 1-0 win over CSK Sofia. Now it's only half time realistically in that fixture. Serge Atakai with the 87th minute goal, and a huge result again. Pat's doing really well in Europe, and they have lost like James Bankwa and Darrell Burns and stuff like that. They've brought in players like Barry Cotter, who seems to have made an instant impact. But they just seem to, I know, look, things aren't going well for them on the back of European results, but they seem to be putting so much into the European games that naturally that's probably going to affect you, especially when you're kind of losing players and your squad's probably a bit thin, which I think most Pats fans would say that. And then we'll probably get into the controversy of the game that was called off on Saturday between Shells and Pats as well. But yeah, just I suppose your overall thoughts and what Pats can take into the game, and that game is going to be live on RTE. I think it's on Thursday night. So that one you can watch, and hopefully they get a result as well. Although with my Shells jersey on me here, a lot of Shells fans will be giving out to me after what happened on Sunday. But Jack, go ahead.
You can still actually buy tickets and go to Tala if you want on Thursday night as well. Maybe even for neutrals.
As of right now.
As of right now, I think it would be safe enough for the next couple of days. I would buy in advance. I would buy online. I wouldn't risk it until the night. But you can buy tickets still. Look, Pats have been superb in Europe. They have. Look, there's a brilliant European tradition there. They've pulled off some fantastic wins in the past. The likes of Krylia Sovetov, Elfsborg, even Shakhtar Karagandhi was an impressive win. And some others. They've been really, really impressive in Europe. And this has been another special season. The win over Mura was fantastic. And I was at the first leg in Richmond Park. It was they actually deserved to win on the night. I kind of felt a bit disappointing. Maybe they left it behind them. They didn't take their chances. But they did the job in Slovenia and got through. But I was absolutely gobsmacked when they went and beat CSK Sofia away from home 1-0. Fantastic win. And from those, I didn't get to see it on TV because, as I said, it was in Tala. But I believe it was fully deserved as well. And it's all set up for Thursday night. It should be an absolutely cracking night. CSK are a massive, massive club. And they have a huge European pedigree. I think they beat Liverpool in the past. They've certainly been in the European Cup semi-final. Probably done even better than that off the top of my head in Europe. They've been very, very impressive side. And for Pats to go to Sofia and beat them was really impressive. Hopefully they can finish the job on Thursday night. And I was talking about one club in group stage football. Who knows? Pats they still have another round to go. But fingers crossed that they can do it as well.
Yeah, just in case anyone was looking at me pulling faces there, I do have a mouth ulcer, so I was just trying to stop my teeth from hitting off the inside of my mouth. But I would agree, and I think if they can get a decent result on Thursday, that should give them huge confidence to bring that into the next round of games if they get that far. Obviously, that will all depend on how things go on Thursday. But yeah, they've enjoyed, a couple of good games now, and their fans, I'm sure, have enjoyed it. Let's talk about, I suppose, the fixture on Sunday, because people will be giving out if we don't. But yeah, look, Shells are obviously massively frustrated that this fixture was basically rescheduled again. It got moved from the Friday to the Sunday. Then I was hearing all sorts of rumours that Pats were stuck in their hotel room. They didn't have a way of getting back. Had the players that got out of the hotel, that their fans, the CSK Sofia fans, were waiting outside for them. So there was lots of stuff like that. But Shells, from their point of view, were really, really frustrated not to play the fixture. Probably was a good time for Shells to play Pats as well, in terms of the league. And Shells are, and I know Damien Duff feels like there's an opportunity to try and catch the teams above as well. So what are your immediate thoughts on that? Well, not immediate, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I sympathise with Shells and their frustrations. I agree. It would have been a good time to play Pats. I mean, Waterford caught them at a good time, and the holders are already out of the FAI Cup last week. Trying to catch them between two European games. And I agree that Damien Duff, Shells still have a chance of getting fourth spot. And fourth spot in most years is good enough for Europe. So I'm sure that's the target for Shells, who, of course, are still in the FAI Cup as well. There's another path into Europe that way. So I can sense the frustration. I don't know what went on. I mean, I think UEFA rules at this stage is that from this round, the third qualifying round on, that all teams must have charters. So I don't know. I haven't even heard any rumours as to why you would have expected that Pats would have been flying home on Thursday night after the game. That's normally what the clubs do. That's what Sligo did, I believe, from Norway. You just get home, they got back into knock. It makes sense, particularly with a game the following Sunday. So I don't know what happened. We are going to have a major fixture backlog as well. Shamrock Rovers are going to have a fixture backlog, particularly if they reach the group stages. Obviously, it's a nice problem to have. But yeah, I can sympathise with Shells. I can understand their frustration. Looking on as a neutral, I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the facts, so we don't know what happened. Were they let down by an airline, or what happened at all? Was it the airport? Was it the DAA even? I believe there's still huge issues in Dublin Airport as well. So I don't know. Time will tell. I don't really know what to say in it, but I can certainly understand Damien Duff being very, very frustrated, because I'm sure he fancied a crack at Pats on Sunday. And the Shells fans, being people looking forward to going to the game. Financially as well, it'll be a blow for Shells, because I'm sure they would have got a really good crowd. They haven't had too many home gates recently. They would have liked the money coming in. The fans would have liked to have been there, and to get it called off at such short notice is very disappointing.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I think you put it very well. Yeah, it's frustrating, and I think Shells had to refund a lot of tickets and stuff like that, and just on such short notice as well is bad fun. But as you say, until we know the absolute facts, and apparently the FAI are going to investigate it, so I don't think there's too much point in us speculating till we have actual facts. So yeah, just the other European tie that probably didn't go as well as we would have liked. Viking beat Sligo Rovers 5-1 with Trippic, Friedjansen, Mai Traore, Nicholas Sandberg, Edvin Ospo, all with the goals, and David Cawley got an 89th minute penalty consolation goal. It'd be interesting to see if it comes to that penalty, and if they can try and get some goals back in the showgrounds. I believe the game was already sold out before the 5-1. So if Sligo can make something of that game, it might be a miracle, some would say, but we wish them well, and hopefully they can get some sort of positive result out of it. But I think it seems as though that tie is dead and buried, in my opinion. But I'd be open to seeing Sligo turn that around. They were playing at the weekend as well. But we'll get into just the Premier Division games from the weekend. So the big one that everyone was talking about was the Dundalk versus Derry, with Akintunde giving Derry a lead, and they probably thought they'd won it, and then Pat Hooben popped up with like an Alan Shearer type header to equalise. Vintage Pat Hooben, you might say. But Dundalk going strong, obviously against a good Derry side who probably fancy themselves as well. There's only 2 points between them now, but Derry do have a game in hand on Dundalk as well. So were you surprised at the result there? And Pat Hooben, I think he's only 8 goals off Dundalk's all-time record goal scorer now as well.
No, I mean, I wasn't that surprised at the result. I mean, as you said, there was 2 points between them. There was 2 points between them before the game as well, obviously. It's been pretty nip and tuck between them. I don't think either of them have been able to mount, for the last few weeks anyway, a serious title challenge. Rovers are still looking over their shoulder a little bit, but they'll have been the happiest with that result, even happier than the other two teams. Dundalk do have a long unbeaten home record, so it's good to keep that going from their perspective. I think it really was a must-win game for both teams if they had ambitions of still winning the title. Rovers will have, obviously, the main focus now is on Europe, so it was an opportunity. Derry, I believe they sat back quite a bit in the second half, tried to sit in the 1-0 lead, and it's always a bit dangerous. And from what I understand, Dundalk fully deserved the equaliser. And particularly if you're going to sit back with a striker like Pat Hooban up against you, it's very, very risky because what he does very well. He scores goals.
Yeah, I think that's where people kind of wrote off Dundalk quite early this season. They, in fairness, they're quietly going about their season quite well. I know they are sitting in second, but they literally, there's not much talk of them, but they're just continuing to grind out results, and whether it's positive or big long runs. Like players that they brought in with a good experience, like Keith Ward has been brilliant for them this season. Pat Hooban is obviously one of their leaders. They've still kept a core group of kind of leaders. You've got Robbie Benson, who came back there as well. He was obviously key for Stephen O'Donnell at Pats. Big player for them as well. Greg Sloggett, these types of players. So they still have a really good squad as well. I think they're pretty much level with Derry in that regard. I think their squads are around similar lengths, and it'll be an interesting race for second place. I don't think either of them will catch Shamrock Rovers. I think they'll be too strong. But I think you've mentioned it before that European football could be a factor there. And if it is a factor, then who knows? It could be an interesting end of season if Shamrock Rovers prioritise European football, maybe over the league. But that remains to be seen. But I think it's all positive. Obviously, we don't know if it's guaranteed that they're going to be in the group stages just yet. But you'd be hoping for their sake that they are, and I think Stephen Bradley will be as well. But I mean, I suppose it's a better result for Dundalk than Derry. Probably feel like two points dropped away from home for Derry. But I still think Derry are a couple of years off where they want to be. And I don't think that Rory Higgins would make a secret about that either.
No, I think Dundalk have done incredibly well this season because you mentioned the players they got back, but they also lost the likes of Patrick McElhaney, lost Will Patching. And even just in recent days, they lost Mark Connolly, who's probably the best player this season, and they lost him to Derry as well. I think Derry, of the two, will be more disappointed with their season, given that at one point they were 6 points clear, and we were talking about Derry mounting a serious title challenge, if not even being favourites for the title. And they went on a bad run, and Rovers reined them in and have a nice cushion now. I think from talking to any Dundalk fans I know, the aim at absolute best, was getting Europe. And I think they're pleasantly surprised to be in second place. And even still, if we offer them third, I think they'd be absolutely delighted with that, because third obviously guarantees Europe as well. And of course, they're still in the cup as well. So who knows what can happen there. Both of them are obviously still in the cup. So I think Dundalk are having a better season given the expectations at the start of the season. Derry, I think realistically they probably didn't expect to win the league this year, but they have had serious financial backing. And, I put it to you this way. I think Derry will definitely expect to be challenging very, very strongly for the league next season. And I think Stephen O'Donnell with Dundalk, if he gets a bit more backing as well, very disappointed to lose the likes of Mark Connolly. But I believe, look, whatever he was offered in Derry, just they could not compete with the financials on that. But I think Dundalk will expect to maybe challenge as well. So maybe next season we'll get a real battle for the title. This season, even if Rovers take their eyes off the ball a little bit, I'm actually talking before the game on Friday night, but I see Rovers are actually flying into Belfast tomorrow and not coming home until after the game in the Brandywell on Friday night. I suppose if Derry are going to mount a title challenge, and it is a good time to catch Rovers, they need to beat Rovers on Friday night in the Brandywell. and then maybe it's game on. But I think Rovers, even if they lose Friday night, would still be warm favourites for the title.
Yeah, I'd agree. I just think that's a fixture that I think all League of Ireland fans will be watching on Friday just to see, because we've seen in the last few weeks as well the results on the back of European ties and how much that's taken out of teams. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure Derry and Dundalk fans are excited to see how their team finishes out the season. On to Sligo Rovers, the other European side, well for now, from the League of Ireland, and they beat Bows 2-1. Max Manna with both goals, and John O'Sullivan getting his first goal for Bows since his move from across the water. I think he's going to be a big player for them. But a good result for Sligo, and I think that puts them in a decent position as well in the league. Getting that win, it's put them back on 5th place, ahead of Bows by 3 points. So Shells with a game in hand on Bows and Sligo. If Shells win their next game, which turns out to be against Bows, they could go and leap them in the table. So good result for Sligo, and it seems as though they're not they bounced back well from the result against Viking during the week.
Yeah, it was a huge win for Sligo. Having gone out of the FAI Cup and having had such a fantastic run in Europe, I'm sure they're desperate to get back into Europe next season. And I think, look, we talked about this. I think 4th place, definitely most years 4th place is good enough for Europe. I think realistically that's the battle. Maybe Pats have ideas about sneaking up into 3rd, but I think it's between Pats, Sligo Rovers, Bows and Shells. I think Drogheda probably would have to do too much. So I think it's those 4 clubs are in the battle for 4th. Pats play Sligo as well. As you mentioned, Shells play Bows in Talca. So look, there's a lot of massive games to come, and it just needs one of those teams to find form. It was a big win from Sligo. They went a goal down in the second half to John O'Sullivan, as you said. Max Mata grabbed a couple in 3 minutes and turned the game on its head. And it was a Sligo team that hadn't been playing well. They hadn't been in form at all. They'd a couple of bad home defeats by Wexford in the FAI Cup and UCD in the league in the middle of their European run, which had, as I said, been very impressive. So I think all the focus now is going to be on the league. I'd love to see them get something on Thursday night against Viking. Be great if they could win, even just to help the national coefficient. I don't think overturning a 4-goal deficit against a top Norwegian side is realistic, unfortunately. But it would be nice if they could get the win on Thursday. And after that, the focus has got to be on the league and getting 4th place. The focus for all those 4 clubs is 4th place, I think, realistically.
Yeah, I think that should be the aim for anyone above probably Drogheda. That they should all be trying to fight for that position. There's no reason why any of those teams can't. I think Matty Smith was brilliant business by Shells, and I think he's going to be a key player in the run in there. He played his first game against Bray, and I was at that game, and he just came on and he got an assist before the end of the game. I don't think he'd even met the team before the actual match itself. So if he can get settled and replicate any sort of form like he did against for Pats last season, he'll be a huge addition for Shells going forward. We might as well go to actually the Drogheda game, because they lost 3-0 to Finn Harps in what was a huge victory for Finn Harps in the league. Filip Mihailovic with the opening goal, and Eric McWoods with 2 goals after that in the 44th and 58th minute. But poor result for Drogheda. And I'm just going to look at the table here. Finn Harps still a ways off Drogheda, who are on 27 points. But Finn Harps do have a game in hand, which will bring them up to 18 points. But it's probably a stretch too far, I would say. But what do you think?
Yeah, but I think catching Drogheda is probably a stretch too far. And despite that defeat, I think we've got to give a lot of credit to Drogheda, how well they've done on such a low budget. I mean, I did rule them out of the European race. I think anyone in Drogheda, if you're even thinking of qualifying for Europe. I know that they were in the race last year as well, but they're up against sides with a much higher budget. They are comfortably clear of Finn Harps, and despite the defeat, they should be fine. What was very significant about that game was Finn Harps moving ahead of UCD, because last week UCD got a point at Head in the Game Park and moved ahead of Finn Harps for the first time in ages. Maybe actually all season. I'd have to check that. And it kind of felt significant. Harps were on a bad run. It was really crucial that Finn Harps turned it around and got the 3 points on Friday night, which they absolutely did. And again, it's advantage Finn Harps in the battle. I think the battle to make the playoff spot and avoid automatic relegation. That's the one to me that still could go down to the wire. I think Drogheda, they've probably got enough of a lead. We're heading into the last round of matches, and I just think there's just too many. I think Finn Harps are going to run out of games, and I think the aim for Ollie Horgan's side and for Andy Myler's side is the playoff.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting race kind of between those two. You'd almost forget about UCD sometimes, but yeah, it was a good point by you that like they are still kind of battling it out with them, but it's a huge result for them in terms of, it's kind of like a 6-pointer for them really, winning that one. But I think it's going to come down to probably the head-to-head between those two clubs of who actually goes down in the end. We'll move on to the First Division. There's a full round of fixtures in the First Division, more or less. Starting off with Cork City, their 6-1 win over Athlone Town. Barry Coffey with a hat trick, Cian Coleman with a goal, Joshua Honohan and Rory Keaton were all the goals. Were on the score sheet, and Valerie Dahlia was on the score sheet for Athlone. So huge win for Cork as they maintain unreal form so far this season. They still have a game in hand on Galway, and they are 3 points ahead of them. Some of the other games, 2-2, Galway dropping points to Wexford. Conor Barry, who is good friends with former IFF TV correspondent Gary Curran, he scored 2 goals in quick succession, the 19th and 23rd minute for Wexford, but Robert Manley had scored in the 14th minute, and Stephen Walsh got the equaliser for Galway in the 62nd minute, who just seemed to be suffering a bit form-wise by just dropping points, whereas Cork just seemed to be marching on and look like really hot favourites. I wouldn't say that they could go and lose this week and Galway win, and it's level again. So it's a really interesting battle at the top of the First Division, Gary.
It is, and I mean, it was a big win, obviously, for Cork. They would have been expected to beat Athlone, and I'm sure they were absolutely delighted when the news came through, the final whistle in DC Park, because extending the gap to 3 points, and as you said, they have the game in hand. Now, the game in hand is at home to Waterford, and that's taking place, I think it's next Monday. And my team, Treaty United, are down in Turner's Cross on Friday. So you have to feel if Cork could pick up a couple of home wins, I obviously hope they don't, that the gap might just be too much for Galway to make up. And Cork, to me, have looked the best footballing side in the division all season. And they're strong in every department. It's ridiculous in many ways that there are 3 full-time big budget sides in the First Division, and at most 2 of them can go up. And but I don't think Cork are going to care too much about it, because they're in pole position now to win the division, and it's going to be a long way back for Galway. And well, I think the next couple of games could prove significant. That I think Galway desperately need Cork to start dropping points.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? If Galway don't go up, there'll be questions asked whether it's automatically or through the playoffs. I think they would be favourites for the playoffs if it was the case. And I suppose the rivals that they'd probably be coming up against would be the other game, which was a big result for Waterford. Obviously, you were at that game 2-1. Waterford's team, Tunmissy Soboale and Dara Power with the goals, and then a late consolation goal from Treaty United. Success, Ido Gunn with the goal. You were at the game. What was your thoughts from the game?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose a fully deserved win for Waterford. They really started on the front foot, and they dominated the early phase of the game. An absolutely stunning strike from Timo Subawale, and second goal from Dara Power. Then Treaty came right back into it. Uh, Unfortunately, at the end, the Curran had a penalty saved just before half time, which ultimately did prove to be significant. And Treaty had chances in the second half. As you said, Success Edigan pulled one back right in the 90th minute, and there was a late flurry and a few balls into the box, etc. But Waterford held out. I'm not even sure if it was a crucial win. It's maybe something they just need to find their form. I think Waterford are absolutely nailed on to be in the playoffs. They're too far behind Cork. They're too far ahead of Longford Treaty and well, certainly ahead of Treaty and Wexford. There's no danger they're going to slip out of the top five. So they're nailed on to be in the playoffs. They are going to be very dangerous in the playoffs. They showed what they can do a week earlier when they went to Richmond Park, as I said earlier in the show, and they beat St. Pat's. That was really impressive. And look, Galway or Cork, most likely Galway, and Waterford definitely are going to be very, very dangerous teams in the playoffs. And you're going to have someone as well coming down from the Premier Division, either probably Finn Harps or UCD. So the playoffs for that Premier Division place are going to be very, very interesting this season.
Yeah, and then you've got obviously then you've got Longford getting the result there against Cove Ramblers. Jordan Adeyemo with the 3rd-minute goal and Mark Hanratty to give them the 2-0 lead in the 63rd minute there. So a good result for Longford, and I suppose we'll just run down through the table there while before we wrap it up. Cork obviously sitting pretty at the top on 56 points, Galway at 53. Then there's a bit of a drop off with Waterford at 44, Longford then at 39, and then you've got Treaty sitting in 5th with one eye over their shoulder of Wexford, who are only 2 points behind them. And then you've got Bray, who are just kind of lingering there in 7th on 21 points, and then you've got Cove and Athlone 12 points and 8 points for them. So yeah, I suppose it's just kind of heating up in that kind of middle area where Wexford, Treaty, Longford and Waterford would all be kind of fighting it out for the playoff spots.
Yeah, I think Waterford are safe. Longford, they had been dragged back into the battle with Treaty and Wexford. Both of us had actually beaten them in recent weeks, but they've pulled off a couple of very good wins over Waterford. And then that win at the weekend, they've got a kind of a 6-point gap in Treaty now. We're heading into the last round of matches. So apart from that Cork-Waterford back match, every team has to play all the others. There's 8 games to go for all the first division clubs. So I think it's going to be nip and tuck between Treaty and Wexford for the 5th and final playoff spot. And 2 points in it, and it might well come down to the last game of the season in the Markets Field when Wexford are the visitors.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting, but I think that's all we have time for today. Huge thanks to yourself, Gary, for joining me, and yeah, I suppose it'll be all eyes on Shamrock Rovers tonight. Well, all those eyes on our phones for the moment, unless we hear anything different. But hopefully they can get over the line, and then we'll have some coverage, I think, from St. Pat's during the week as well. And then we'll be obviously at the game as well on Thursday in Richmond Park. I think we'll be at that game together. And if I do go to the toilet, maybe Gary...
It's in Tala.
Yeah, sorry, but if I do go to that game, maybe, and if I do go to the toilet, maybe Gary will let me know if there was a goal scored in that time. Yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And check out our other social media platforms as well. Link is in the comments and our description. And any podcasts of our videos should be there as well. All right, we'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.